Welcome back to After Hours, everybody. We're talking with Dr. Majid Sadeghpour. He is a human rights activist. He's the political director of the Organization of Iranian American Communities, OIAC. He survived. He was in Iran during the 1979 revolution. His brother was a victim later on of the regime, the new Iranian regime, I suppose you could say. And you were talking about why the source of power or the stability of the current regime in Iran, the current source of control, the government that is controlling. And you were saying there is a solid core that supports the objectives of the revolution. And I was going to ask you, because my understanding is that a lot of this gets back to money, and that gets back to oil. One of the reasons the IRGC is loyal is because they make money. They're paid, they get revenue from oil.
Yes.
And I suspect that is one of the reasons you're talking about the core of support of the regime. I suspect one of the reasons they support the regime is because it's financial. These people have investments, they probably have offshore accounts, and all of that comes, I'm guessing, from oil. Is that right?
Oil and other illicit means. Iran.
So the question to me then is, why not just cut off the oil revenue? Why not just steal the oil? Why don't we Americans just take your oil?
That is not a decision that I can comment on. I'll say the regime in Iran survives beyond the oil. I remember when I was a young man, when the IRGC members...
But it seems to me that old cliche, follow the money, really. I mean...
those Ayatollahs, Qasem Soleimani recruited Qasem Soleimani, the IRGC commander that was killed by President Trump's effort when Secretary Pompeo and President Trump, during the first term, when he was killed, was a Quds Force commander. His efforts in Syria is well documented, in Iraq, in killing American soldiers is well documented. So I am glad that he's eliminated, and I think he has changed the course of history on Iran and in the Middle East in doing so. So that the credit is due to those men and women who made that decision and carried it out. But the regime in Iran, I would have to say, on the streets of Iran, on the neighborhood level, has got infrastructure. There may be few comparing to a 90 million plus population, but nevertheless, they're the ones who hold the guns and hold the bank account and hold the money. And so it is important to recognize that the driving force is an ideology. The driving force is an expansionist worldview. The driving force is women hunting, misogynist. And so the force...
Women hunting?
Yes, is a misogynist entity. Just like Hitler had anti-Semitism as his driving force for his predatory behavior, the Ayatollahs have had misogyny as the driving force, not just money, misogyny.
What do you mean by that? What are you talking about?
Women are commodity in Iran for the regime.
What does that look like?
Unfortunately, it is very hard to describe. The very first act of oppression by the regime was not hunting protesters in the street or arresting my brother. In fact, the very act that my brother got involved with was motivated, that action was motivated by the fact that the very first act of the regime was the forced hijab. To eliminate
forced hijab, which is the garments women wear covering their whole bodies.
Yes, and not just that, but also exclusion of women, essentially from significant roles in society, eliminating women from participation in major part of life, eliminating rights of women in society. In a culture, we are Persians, we are Iranians. Women are mothers, are our driving force in society. That is why you see perpetual uprisings in Iran. The women have a central, key role to play here, have had throughout those decades. Mohammad Mossadegh was the prime minister of Iran in large part because parliament, at the time, I'm talking about 1951, 52, women took up arms under their chadors to make sure that his vote doesn't get hijacked by the fundamentalists. Women have significant players in Iran's democratic movements in Iran. And so the regime recognized that from day one and immediately tried to put the kibosh on it. And so that is why you see the women leadership. That is why you see the Iranian resistance is led by Maryam Rajavi, the president-elect of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. That pedigree of resistance we all get from our women and our resistance movement inside the streets of Iran. To undo the regime of Hitler, we needed America, the democracy, to intervene. Okay,
I got to tell you, Americans are so tired of wars and interventions.
No. That's not at all what I'm saying. Well, ideologically, the democracy could put foot, not its arms. In the fight against fundamentalism and the Ayatollahs, you need women at the center of this struggle. What I was saying, to address that core, you have to have ideals and opinions and movements that highlight the role of women, that stand for secular values and democracies to combat fundamentalism, that have roots on the ground of Iran, that they have sacrificed for against this regime, not only this regime, but also the regime of the Shah. Maryam Rajavi, whose name I just mentioned, lost a sister to the Shah of Iran in prisons, and lost a sister, a pregnant one, I should say, to the Ayatollahs in Iran. Right? And the sacrifice should be a measure of legitimacy, not pedigree. And so this Mojtaba Khamenei was installed because the son of a former dictator, Khamenei, that was killed by the bombings. This guy, this is hereditary theocracy. The people of Iran had already kicked out hereditary monarchy. The only choice, really, we have tried appeasement of the regime. These people will not change their behavior because of that core. We've tried bombing them, hoping that they will fall. This path, it actually plays right into the hand of the regime. I spoke about my childhood experience of how they used the Iran-Iraq war as a pretext for oppression and consolidation of power. That is exactly what they're doing now. They have those patrols in every corner of every street. They're arresting people there because they're literally looked at the wrong way, and these people disappear and never come back because there is an environment of war. The real answer is in the middle, where the people of Iran can and want to overthrow this regime. That should be recognized. That is struggle. That struggle has arms and legs. What do I mean by that? Well, the people of Iran have an organized resistance inside Iran in the form of the MEK resistance units that are in operation in Iran.
Remind us, MEK stands for again?
People Mujahideen Organization of Iran, PMOI. They have been fighting this regime. In fact, they've been fighting the Shah before it fell for the past 47 years, 46 and a half years. But that armed, battle-ready organization on the ground is there, yes. But there are other factors that need to be happening. In Syria, for example, the United States made it very clear that the United States supported the Syrian people's struggle to overthrow this despotic regime in the waning days of the war. You notice that war, that conflict quickly blew. Mm-hmm. In Iran, we have let Iran's embassies operate in perpetuity. They have used their embassies, they whitewashed their crimes against humanity to acquire the resources that they have used to build the very weaponry that we are now bombing. The excavators that they bought from these European countries ostensibly to build metro stations in Iran were never used to build metro stations, but to excavate the very tunnels we are bombing. The short-term viewpoints of selling a few machines worth a few $1 million undermines the strategy that fundamentalist Islam, these guys, are hijacking the free world, not just the people of Iran. And we see it with what's happening in the Straits of Hormuz. The answer lies in the middle. The people of Iran can overthrow this regime, but we've got to isolate them for sure. We got to kick out their embassies. We got to stop them from coming to the UN every time they show up, they're trying to represent the Iranian people. We know they don't represent the Iranian people because they're the killers of the Iranian people. In 2025, and it's more so today, the regime in Iran, I'm using Amnesty International numbers, the regime in Iran accounted for more than 80% of all executions worldwide.
How many people?
One nation that has only 1% of the global population accounts for 80% on everyone that is put to death by the government.
How many people did they put to death?
More than 2,000. That's the public number.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about that? The protesters who were shot. I heard the number 30,000.
Yes,
right?
that is correct. I meant actual executions that the regime admits.
Gotcha.
The real number is astronomically higher. So if you reflect on it as a mankind, in other words, the people of Iran in this struggle, the real war is not between the United States and the Ayatollahs. It really isn't. Mm-hmm. The real war is between the people of Iran and that regime.